Um, okay. You're both good to go. T3, this is your last host run. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
I will...
Yeah, I'll be doing more of it on Saturday.
Awesome.
And then I'll be running tomorrow and the next day.
Awesome. You have been fantastic. I appreciate it. Okay, I am going to take you over in 3, 2, 1.
Hello again, and welcome back to RIP Debt Not Runs 2023, supporting RIP Medical Debt.
Hi, everybody. I am SableDragonRook.
While the runs will not be ripped,
we are going to
I believe in our next run, our character will be in a wide variety of different ways. This is inside all
but let me get the timer started at least.
SableDragonRook.
We're going to start as soon as I just hit the first input of the game.
Mort. Hi,
Mort. So I'll count you down. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. Wonderful. This game is very ambient, so please do let me know in chat if, you know, for some reason you feel like you can't hear because it's just like the sounds of walking. It's a little bit difficult to balance, and I can kind of do that on the fly for you. But hopefully everybody's doing good today. So yeah, this is Inside from Playdead. These are the same people who made Limbo, which is kind of a simpler version of this game. It has a little bit... I guess I don't even want to say it has less going on, because that's not necessarily true. There are significantly fewer buzzsaws in this game. But it's such a blast, and we're actually not going to get to the end, because timing for this category stops before we reach the end. So just because you're watching it doesn't mean that you should not try it for yourself. So here's our first death. The purpose of this run is to trigger each unique death animation once. The community has just kind of agreed on, you know, what these death animations are and which ones are unique, which ones are the same. And so I have a little list here. That one was caught by a guard, and we have to go through and get all of the individual ones. Yeah, they are just like the sound design in this game is so good.
You know, I know there are lots of runs where people like to collect them all, but I'm still kind of mixed on this one.
My splits are telling me
these games are
50
wonderful,
times
though. They're so
for this category since the last time that I
understand why you'd encourage people to
total,
play them for
that's
themselves.
a couple hundred times that I've played through this. And I still don't necessarily know what's happening, what the story is about. So there's plenty of room for interpretation and for you to play it yourself and figure out. This is going to be mauled by a dog. And this next one is particularly challenging. The boy walks slower after a brief time in the water. So going backwards resets that little speed thing that he gets, and it gives me just enough time to get here and get pushed by a dog. It's the only place in the game where you can get that one. Otherwise, if we didn't do this real quick little backwards thing that I'm doing, we would not make it through the water in time for him to do that. Yes, for sure. And one of the nice things about this category is that there's plenty of opportunity for variation. You know, like, one of the deaths is just like fall from a great height. There are a ton of places you can do that. So, in a sense, like, if you make a mistake, sometimes it's fine because you just like take the death and then you don't do it where you might have done it before. So it's pretty flexible. Runners will have slightly different variations of how they want to do this. And there are only a few deaths where you can only get them in one place. We'll get this one, which is shot with a tranquilizer dart. And then we can proceed. So I'm doing a little bit of movement tech. When the boy stumbles like that, he starts to do a full-on run. That's the fastest form of movement we have. So we never ever want to interrupt him while he's doing that. Otherwise, if he's not like completely running like that, which he's not now, then we want to do this kind of little hop skip thing Yeah. It's not quite the same as just like mashing the X button and jumping as fast as you can. There is like a rhythm to it, and you can do it poorly and lose time for sure. So it takes a little practice. If we trip over that log, we're going to get caught.
Right, we're just stumble hopping something.
And since we've already been caught by a guard, I'm going to make sure this guy does not see me. Well, I mean, he sees me, but it doesn't matter. Ooh, he was speedy this time. Look at him going above and beyond. I love how tightly this is programmed. Like they're just like right on you, right as you get to that cliff. So we've got a little ways to go here before my next death, which is tackled by a pig, because that's for sure a thing. So do we have upcoming donation incentives for anything?
Yeah, and the weapon fire and the dogs. Goodness.
Yay.
Yeah, and we just got a $5 donation from Emerald Alley saying, thanks for having me and see you again for the grand finale. We look forward to it.
So yeah, you can
yeah, the next incentive
get
coming up is, as previously mentioned just a little bit ago. I don't know if we heard it. I know we had some switching in and out going on, but it'll be a
this
category
poor child
upgrade
could probably
for
use some medical care,
Magalore
but he
epilogue
would be in
to
medical debt
stages.
if you would donate, because it would get forgiven.
So that'll be coming up later today, I think.
That's fair. Got our little chicken friends.
And to be fair, I don't think any of the humans in this world are particularly trustworthy to administer medical care.
But you're on the right track, because of course, why wouldn't there be a
I feel like
one of those?
I feel like
so
as
the
we were in the water earlier, I kind of wanted to
usually
tempt fate
pretty
by
strategic.
asking, is there going to be an asphyxiation?
You know,
at
a little
some
bit of
point,
wiggle room, like I
then
mentioned.
Then I thought, oh wait, even if there is, maybe this isn't the fastest place to do it.
As
And then I
close
thought,
to a
boy,
checkpoint
that's a really
as possible,
grim line of thought.
So that we, you know, are as close to where we died as we can be. I'm gonna let my little chickens into the room here. Come on, friends. As for what these chickens are doing, don't worry about it. It's fine. We love them and they'll be fine. Come on, chickens. Alright, so our little chicken friends, we're gonna suck them up into this thing. They're not getting ground up or anything, don't worry about it. See? They fell back down.
My mind is definitely not racing with possibilities.
We just needed the momentum to knock down this hay bale. They're still our friends.
Let's just scroll the camera a little further. No, a little further away. Oh dear.
They shall not be nuggets today. Oh, also, I guess I didn't really actually explain, because I just kind of assumed. Bottom left corner, that's Mort. He's a lizard. He kind of looks like a snake. Some people call him the leg snake because he looks like a snake, but he has tiny little legs. He's a blue-tongued skink, and he will be hanging out for both of my runs at this event, if he so chooses. He's kind of choosing not to right now. Mort is he is just so friend-shaped. Long and tubular. So he's hiding, of course. And maybe he'll come out, otherwise...
No. I mean, most importantly is that Mort is a friend.
Otherwise, we can just stare at his tail. So here's the pig, but as I mentioned before, ideally, we're not gonna take the death right here, because the checkpoint is through this door. So now that we've triggered the checkpoint, we can get tackled by the pig, and that's much more ideal.
Heard you talking about him.
Okay, Piggy. So Piggy's upset. The beginning of this game is just all about animals being vaguely upset. Okay, so he's got this thing, some kind of wormy, grubby guy attached to his butt. And once that's gone, he's not angry anymore. So because I am a mean person, I'm gonna stand on top of him real quick and hop into this iconic part of the game. You know, these things kind of are associated with this game. Gentlemen, I need your brawn, please. Thank you. So these guys are mirroring my movements, and I'm in that way kind of telling them what to do. We're going to use this mechanic throughout the game whenever we find these.
Yep. That makes sense.
So yeah, people just become my buddies whenever I wear a cool hat, just like in real life. And next thing we're gonna do, this I think is the only part of the run that I kind of disagree with, because like I said, the community kind of determines what the deaths are. And this one is called Heart Attack from a Falling Safe. I don't really see the difference between this one and just falling from a great height, but you know what? It's not necessarily my choice, so we're gonna do it. Oh, we're talking over each other. I'm sorry. Sometimes it do happen. Teacher, I think that are you not from not the US maybe? Am I making that up? Huh. I thought maybe we had some distance between us that would contribute to that, like, you know, desync a little bit.
Oh no, I know. I'm from. I was in the southeast until I recently moved to the northeast.
So we have to solve this little puzzle, which is just creating a platform.
Oh no, tech issues don't need logical explanations. Goodness
and
no.
push it just high enough that we can both reach it and jump up to the next platform.
All right, so let's see what happens when
Knowing
you don't
me,
stay
that
safe.
will be not entirely correct, because that's just kind of how I roll sometimes. There we go. It worked. So, here's the safe. And we need to be on it as it falls. I don't really see how that's much different from Fall from a Great Height. But, you know. And in fact, I am just going to do it differently and get Fall from a Great Height while we're here. So it looks basically the same, right? But we did get 2 deaths there. And this time, we'll do our best not to die. Now watch me, you know, accidentally fall later and wish that I hadn't taken that death. There's technically kind of a more optimal place to do that, but I don't know. I'm here. I might as well. Gotta wear my cool hat again, because there's a friendo inside here. They're not spaced out appropriately to hit these buttons, so I have to change the distance apart that they are by having this guy get stuck on the door and the other guy walk to the wall, and then they'll be spaced correctly. And we'll see more from our faceless, nameless friendos throughout the run. Speaking of friendos, where'd you go, buddy? Oh, he's coming back. Right on cue. Somewhere. Somewhere. Thank you, Cheville. I appreciate you. Thank you for the donation. I will
The
watch
camera
out
glimpse. It's
for
good enough.
those mermaids in as far as it is convenient for me to do so, which means we're still going to give him a
Speaking
little
of friends,
smooch.
thank you also to Cheville Tortue for your $5 donation that says, watch out for
10
those
out of 10.
mermaids.
Would smooch mermaid again. There's a death here. Okay, so if you fall in between these two buildings, ooh, which I almost did on accident, you can actually fall into a shopping cart and it scares a cat and he like runs away screaming. And I totally think that that should be on the list to get in this speed run. I'm very sad that it's not. Alright, we can do these a little bit faster if I just absolutely yank my controller side to side. So many joysticks have been ruined doing that. You know, I don't know what Mort's doing. Mort's he's just vibing, living his own life. That was zapped by a sentry gun. And there are different kinds of sentry guns that we will get zapped by. How exciting. Meme categories are just so fun. Like, why run any percent when you can run this? What does that say about me as a person? Hold on.
Oh dear.
Yeah, this is very true. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what game. I adore meme runs. I think you're right.
Yeah,
It
and I
is-
take it
it
to
is
mean that
kind
you
of,
like
you know, you get to see
experiencing
things
all the
that
different
aren't
things that the game has to offer, because
in
in any
typical
percent
runs.
there's going to be
Oh,
a lot of
I have
what
found Mort.
designers and programmers
Hello.
put into the game that you just won't see because it's, you know, not fast.
Staring right into the camera like a weirdo. Okay. Down we go. And now we're going to be in a lineup of people. These are kind of like the people who are attracted to our very cool hat. They're not necessarily zombies, but, you know, you can kind of use your best judgment about what you think they are. Regardless, we're being watched because we stand out. So if we do anything that doesn't jive with what these guys are doing, this camera is going to pick us up and murder us because, you know, that's what we do here. And we do want that to happen, but not right now. Because we are... And look over in the distance, this woman is like holding a baby. Everybody has these masks. But even the baby has a mask.
They're the adults
I don't
in a
understand
Pink
what's
Floyd
happening, but
music
it's so
video,
like
or maybe,
atmospherically creepy. I love it.
Yeah, any of those varieties.
So if I don't jump
yeah.
with them, that thing's gonna see me. And we want to get close to our next checkpoint before we let this thing see us. Because obviously, zapped by a sentry camera is going to be one of our deaths. Sheeple is what they are. They've got back problems for sure. These people are not practicing good posture.
Of course.
So if I'm a little bit off sync, that camera is going to start flashing to let me know, like, hey, it's a little suspicious. But as long as we don't make, like, a big mistake, we'll be fine. The checkpoint is past this chalkboard in here. And if you want to be, like, really sneaky and really, you know, scary for your speed run, you can do this a little bit faster. There we go. By, like, wiggling as you're standing in line. It'll make you go ever so slightly forward, but it won't quite trigger the camera. Like, you can kind of do this. But it's very risky. We've got this dog in the background who's looking at us. So the next death, arguably the most difficult in the entire run. We need, and it's the only place you can get it too, of course, is crushed by a horizontal door. Before we get there, we need to solve what I consider to be one of, like, the mind-bendingest puzzles. No matter how many times I speedrun this, every now and then I still just get it wrong. Okay, open the door. So our friends like our little hat, right? What happens when we have more than one friend and my friend starts wearing cool hats as well? It's just a hat party. It gets very confusing. For me, the runner. Maybe I just lack common sense. We'll see. Yeah. Alright, so Friendo, he's got a hat now too. So I'm controlling the guy who's controlling the other guy. Other guy gets up on top of here. I drop the connection with both of them, and so now I only have the one Friendo.
We do a little
and off we go.
hatception.
That took me like 45 minutes the first time I played this game. And I still sometimes do it wrong. So here's our horizontal door. Oh boy. Okay, I clipped the edge. That's fine. So we're gonna take drowning here. This is like one of the nice things about this, is that you can get like other deaths while you're attempting this. Yes. Close. So we're gonna give this a couple more tries. Let me just drown again, because we can't use the main menu. That is forbidden within the rules of the category. So I can't just use
backup
like
deaths.
the chapter select menu to go backwards.
Well, at least it's fast.
And drowning is in fact the fastest way to die. So yeah, we're gonna give this the old college try, but this is a very, very difficult death. And the world record. Oof, gets it on the first try. That's very close. I'm gonna try one more time.
Gotcha.
It's actually a fairly gruesome death animation too, so it's not the worst if we don't have to watch it. Ooh, that was exceptionally close. So we're gonna call that good. Because obviously, you know, you can see what I'm doing, right? Like, we need to perfectly align it so that we get caught as we go down.
Yeah, no, it definitely gave you a bonk there. That last one.
But yeah, you get pinched between the doors and split in half. It's as you would expect for this run. I might accidentally drown again because I took kind of a weird arc through the water. Nah, we good. We good. So yeah, that death is particularly challenging. There's another one that's also fairly challenging and also only has one spot where you can get it. Well, okay. That's a lie. I've lied to you just now. There's 2 spots. One spot is just so ridiculously difficult that you don't try. Unless you're the world record holder, because of course. There are a couple, and I'll point them out as we go. Where the world record holder gets these just absolutely impossibly tightly timed deaths where you have like one chance, and if you don't do it, like, too bad for you, the run's over because you don't have the chance to go backwards. And it's no reason that runner is like 10 minutes faster than everybody else. We can see the sentry light up through the ceiling. That's going to be our next death. Oh, wait. Destination? I'm sorry. I'm just... It's just one of those days, you know? One of those days where that's how I have to be.
Yeah, no.
They could
I'll
have an
allow it.
entire new franchise that's just the same thing, but don't worry, it's totally new.
Yeah, just don't give the movie industry any ideas. You know, Final Destination is already kind of an on the name.
So we got a lot of our friends back there in a
calling it Final
train.
Destination, then I'm out.
Suspiciously going somewhere. I'm gonna get this sentry gun real quick. Mort is gonna observe the world for a hot second. Hello, Mort. I would like to believe that I have refined my speedrunner skills over the years, in part because I simultaneously control Mortcam and also speedrun. Perhaps that's why I don't have very many first places, though. Okay, so hopping over to the right activated this light. We had to go. It wasn't like, oops, you know, I timed it wrong. It's just that's how you get it to appear.
At least in my case, it's the ADHD superpower. I don't know if there are
And
different
we're
versions
safe
of that
for
other
a
people,
little
but-
while. Which is saying something in this game. Also worth noting that the little boy doesn't have a mask. We talked briefly about people having masks earlier, but our nameless protagonist does not have one. This is a great place to get Fall from a Great Height, because, as I almost did, it's very easy to miss that chain if you're trying to do the speedrunner thing and, like, grab it as low as possible. So if you don't have Fall from a Great Height there, you might as well, like, by that point, you might as well be risky and try to grab super low on the chain. This next part will be a little bit easier, negligibly, but still present. A little bit easier on keyboard and mouse, and I'm playing controller, so we're going to probably two-cycle this. Hi, dog. Okay. Dog can swim, which is bad. However, we've already been launched by a dog, so let's not do that again. Here's our running animation, so I'm not going to interrupt that with my little bunny hops. Cool. See, it's a lot easier to click left and right on a keyboard than it is to jiggle the joystick back and forth like this, which is why you can get a little bit further on keyboard and mouse. Ooh, that was actually suspiciously close. Why are you so perfect, buddy? You're so good. Alright, we're gonna make it in here, for sure. I'm just doing it. Yep. Okay. So you can one cycle that if you're super, super fast. Yep. And now we're safe again for a little while. We kind of front load a lot of the deaths. And then we just yeesh,
Gotcha.
get to
Yeah,
play
you
for a
have to get
bit.
the thing where you have one finger on each keyboard key, just kind of straddling
And obviously
back
because
forth.
this is a
Makes sense.
side-scrolling game, right? The any percent is going to look pretty similar to this run. Any percent goes a little bit further than we will. I'm not sure why this run ends where it does, because it could technically end a little bit even before it does, but submarine time. Surely there are only good and friendly things in the water. So good speed pacing is going to be, you know, timing these charges, which I do have to, like, charge up with buttons. In order to time them and cycle them so that you're not ever, like, waiting at a door while one charges up. Which is why I'm not going to do one here. until we get over to here. The sub will vibrate a little bit, which you may or may not be able to see depending on how long I charge it for. But the controller vibrates in a very distinctive way.
Is there an on-screen indicator or sound, or do you just kind of have to feel it out?
Okay, so I'm gonna knock a chunk out of this. Hopefully that's not too awful low. And we will head to our next death,
Nice.
which is called Crushed by Rolling Barrels. Pretty self-explanatory, that one, I think, probably. There's gonna be some rolling barrels, and we're gonna get in the way. Also, fun fact, right? I figured out that you could do fast chain climbing and stuff in
I
The
wonder
Last
what'll
Guardian,
happen
which is a
after that.
completely unrelated game. Because you can do fast chain climbing and rope climbing in this game. And I don't know why that's the case, that should work across two completely separate games, but, you know, whatever. If it works, it works. Yeah, no, there was no way to know that was coming. You can technically still get crushed here if you do this part poorly. Like if you try to jump instead of just fall, it'll pinch you against the wall. So you'll still get crushed by rolling barrels, but it's risky enough to do it that way, and it takes extra time for no reason. So we just run headlong to our demise, fearless. I will not yet disclose what our next goal is. We will leave it suspiciously spooky. This is a jet box. We're going to come back to these later. There's a couple deaths that rely on them. I pull the lever on the top, and then it charges up and releases that burst of air that shoots it up onto the rail that it's attached to. One of the deaths is very simple, but the other one involves me actually like cheating the game's concept of the Z-axis. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get there. For now, ooh, let's make that jump. Donk. Alright, we've opened the door, which was the entire purpose of doing everything that we just did. Hello. That was a friend. For sure. Nothing nefarious about that. Okay, so we can just push through that door, which means that our charges, as far as timing, don't necessarily matter. That button back there is going to change the water level in this room, so I'm going to take my submarine to the opposite side so that it's over.
It'll be fine.
These pipes, so that when the water goes down, we're on the correct side. I am going to drown. Was not paying attention. You ever just like, you speedrun a game so much that you just kind of go on autopilot, and then every now and then you notice something in the background that you haven't seen the last 75 times you've played this? Then you just like completely forget what you're doing because you're paying attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of speedruns, so I don't necessarily have something that directly matches that.
Groovin is like the best part of speedrunning. Also, here's our next death.
If you tune in tomorrow,
this one is one of the ones that freaks me out a little bit.
Onto the screen.
Depressurized
so I definitely
submarine.
have it where I'm like, hey, I'm not anywhere near
little
where I should be.
Came over and greeted us a little bit
and the
too
enemies are actually
aggressively.
over here. So,
But she doesn't like the light,
Yeah,
so
that'll
we
definitely happen.
can get away from her that way. Really, really skilled speedrunners, stop. Will be able to clip the bottom of that door as they come through and close it. The negative of that is that if you miss or if you bonk on it, that girl's gonna catch you. So it's very risky to do it that way. Yeah, Selkies are, you turn into a Selkie by wearing a seal coat, right? I think is what the lore is.
Nice.
Are Selkies only dudes? I don't know.
We did have suggestions as we got to this point that it might have also been a Selkie, which I believe are water spirits, so that makes sense.
Because I'm pretty sure there's like a legend or something about a woman who falls in love with a Selkie, but like Selkies can't come on land, so she has to find a seal coat so she can be a Selkie. Or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making that
You
up.
are correct on the first
But
part.
it warms my heart, so whatever. Oh yeah, well there you go. This is a very fashion-forward game, you know? Like, I wear this awesome hat,
Oh, here we
and
go.
all these people
Selkies
follow me
can be
because I'm cool.
coerced or
We're
tricked
just
into
stealing that
marrying
lady's
humans,
coat
usually by someone who steals and
because we
hides
think
their
it's
seal
cool, and now
skin,
she's like,
preventing
"Oh
them from
no, what am I
returning to
gonna
the
do?"
sea. That's
Let's find
appropriately
somebody's
twisted for the
thigh-high
game that we're
socks
watching.
next. Sometimes there's only one brain cell to go around.
I am enjoying that Do Left Hands and Cheviel in the chat are sharing the same brain cell today. They keep coming up with points like tying one another
Yo,
in the
Selkies
chat.
are rad though. Like,
see two messages
all that
about
kind
things
of
come up at the same
folklore
time.
stuff, super cool. Love it to death. There's some other kind of what are they called? There's some other kind of mythical creature. Kind of reminds me of a Selkie, except it doesn't have a head, and that's its whole point. It's just like a headless
we had a lot of
lady.
it in the last run, and I appreciate that we're kind
Is it
of
a
working it
Dullahan?
into this
Is that
run
what those are
on our
called?
own terms.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was only making up like 70% of it instead of all of it. Also, Mort is completely gone again. Things are getting a little bit too spooky
A
for him.
Dullahan is a spirit. I feel like those are usually depicted
Our
as like a
next
suit of
death
armor, but the head does come off.
is, I would, like, you know, it's a highly stylized game, and so it's not quite as gory, maybe, as something more realistic, but if you have a sensitive stomach, this is usually the one that kind of trips people up a little bit. We're gonna go right over here. Also, my walk cycle is different now that I have my cool hat. And we'll see how many tries this takes. Ooh, just one. Impaled on a spike. That one gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. And it's a little bit different, even, every time, depending on, like, exactly how you hit it. Which is cool, like, on the developer's part, you know, that they figured out kind of physics-wise what the differences
the
would be.
animation of it trying to lift up off of it is not... Oh, no.
Is that, like, super gory?
Cat points out the grotesque death animation
Spooky.
from 2013 Tomb Raider reboot, and they are right to do so. there are many deaths that involve impalement,
like,
and they
at
tend
least
to
we
focus
have
on the character
kind
and
of
that
a little bit of
happening, and poor Lara trying to remove
a
herself
stylistic
from that
barrier
happening a little
in this
too late.
game because of, you know, the
Yes.
art style and stuff like that
Explicit
that
is
separates us a
definitely
little bit
an appropriate
from
way
it.
to describe those death animations.
All right, I do this a little bit out of order. We're gonna do this first. So this is crushed by a minecart. This one is very simple, and you don't really have to see very much because you can only see my hand. Oh, sorry, buddy. Oh, I knocked him over. I'm so sorry. So while I have this helmet on, my cool hat, this is the only time in the game where we get to just, like, break off of the... Whoops. Break off of the cord that it's attached to and just run with it. It speeds up my walk cycle a little bit. So my little bunny hops are going to have to be timed differently if I still want to do the fast walking. And we'll lose it shortly, in a very cool way, my favorite part of the game. But for now, my cool hat brings all the boys to the yard, so I gotta keep wearing it. Let me down, let me down, let me down! Yes, we dying. We do be dying. Quite a lot. On purpose.
If you have seen the memes of it, it is one of people's favorite meme
Speaking of
genders,
which,
this cool hat.
we haven't talked about RIP Medical Debt for a while, which is a wonderful charity that helps people to pay off their outstanding medical debt. So, if that is
On
important
purpose.
to you,
To raise money
probably
for charity.
because you're American and understand how that situation goes, do consider supporting.
Yeah, the long and short is the medical debt is considered enforceable even after the original party that would otherwise ask for it from you stops trying to pursue that debt. They can basically sell it on to other people. So RIP Medical Debt actually works as one of those debt buying agents, but they specifically do that work to identify the kinds of debt that are held by people who are in, you know, the least likely situation to be able to pay it off, and for whom that debt is the most significant in terms of being able to live a dignified life. And they will buy that debt, they will forgive it, and then they will only at that point will they use the person's identifying information that they have also legally purchased.
It's like those
Again,
people.
going back to Sable's point about,
I just
if you
saw
live
a
here,
post the other
you
day
probably have an
of
idea
those
of
people
how
who
bad
go
it
and
is.
like buy sea
But,
turtles from the market and then just
they only
release them
use that
back into the
information
ocean.
to send the people whose debt they have forgiven a letter
Same
saying,
vibes.
"Hey,
Same good
this is
vibes.
taken care of. Get back to living your life." And that is amazing.
And also, I guess we should mention, unless it's changed, but I don't think that it has, RIP Debt operates on like a multiplier system. So, like every dollar you donate becomes, is it 10 times?
Yeah, no, that's true.
That amount? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, no, it can be up to like 100 times, because basically what they're doing is, the way it works is debt buying and debt collection is a business, as are most things in this country. So people who run debt collection companies will buy that debt from hospitals who basically consider it unenforceable at that point. Like, hey, we've tried chasing this person down, we've already ruined their credit, you give it a shot. And so RIP medical debt will act as one of those buyers saying, okay, we'll pay you $10,000 for
Yeah,
the information
I
that would
love
hypothetically
that
let us to
concept. That
collect
it's
$1
so
million
powerful
in
for a
medical
charity
debt,
to be able
and
to
then
do
they will
that
just forgive
compared
it
to
instead.
just, you know, doing like a
That's how it works.
one-to-one
So yeah,
thing.
any money you can give to RIP medical debt acts as a force multiplier to
I've
forgive
acquired quite a
an
gaggle of
exponential amount
friends,
of debt relative
which is in
what you
fact
can
the
give.
point. And they are all wonderful, and I love every single one of them. Get up there, friends! Get up there! No! Oh, I've
does
been
seem that way.
ruined. It's the first time in a long time that they haven't just committed to getting all the way over there. Oh, my fellows. My brothers in Christmas. I'm gonna need you to get over there, okay? Thank you kindly. Is that what we call a group of friends, a gaggle? I would love to be part of a gaggle, okay? So yes, that's what we call them. So I think if I have... Oh, that man might not be wearing pants. I think that if I've calculated this correctly, we have all of the friends that we'll ever need. And we can go and hang out together, have some hot cocoa, and that's how the game ends, right? I like that I've made everyone suspicious of every move that I make.
I mean, you know, you've described
this
a hot beverage,
is
and now I'm just
my
thinking
favorite
about
part of the
ways
game.
that
The
could
sound
cause you to
design
rack
is
up more
just
depths, and
superb.
I don't like where this train of thought is going. So, how about you take over?
All right, here we go. So this is the shockwave section.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to ideally
You certainly have.
not die before I'm ready. But it's always close. Beautiful. Okay, so here is Shockwave Clock, which we are going to attempt once to one cycle. And then if it doesn't work, we're just gonna deal with it. Because I'm gonna get the death if I fail, and I could get the death later if I don't fail. Nah, you know what? I'm too cowardly. I'm not gonna try to one cycle this. I've chickened out at the last moment. Beautiful. Having that done in one go without dying is huge. Alright. So we did just trigger a checkpoint, so I'm gonna take Blasted by a Shockwave here. That one's also a little bit spooky. Ooh.
Yep. Didn't love that. But what I did love is a $50 donation. Let me bring it back up real quick, 'cause I
Thank you so
forgot
much,
to hit the
everybody.
live
You're
switch on
wonderful.
Tiltify. From Groucho Barks saying,
Oh, that
"Okay,
was so
but like,
unbelievably
ooh,
close.
Speed games for a great
I
cause."
was so dead and should not
Thank you
still
so much
be
for your
here.
tremendous generosity. That does completely meet the Magalore Epilogue category upgrade for later today.
Nope, nope, nope. Somehow, the cycling of this has ended up really weird, and I don't know how that happened. I didn't die, but sure. Okay, sadly we are done with the shockwave section. I love it so much. But yeah, thank you for the donation. And no, I genuinely do love that part of the game. It's my favorite part. The sound design and the atmosphere and everything is just, it's very nice. There's a really cool skip here that I have never been able to do.
I can't
But
tell
it
if that was
also,
sarcastic
like
or
another
not.
death that we're going to do
definitely
later,
know-
has to do with
you know
manipulating
sold it
the
if it was being
z-axis, which is like the depth of field, right? From the front of the screen to the back of the screen.
I see.
You can kind of like wiggle enough in front of this elevator when it's still up top that eventually you fall off the back of the screen because you kind of take steps into the background every time you wiggle. And you just fall down to where this elevator, you know, would be here in just a second, but you don't have to go through all of this extra stuff. Never been able to do it, but it's cool to watch. Also, that's like one of my greatest fears of all time. When I have nightmares about like dying, that's usually what it is. It's like I'm in the water and I'm trapped in something, or like I can't find my way out of like a direction that I'm swimming or something. Those are my nightmares. That would have been perfectly timed if the boy would have just did what I asked. Yeah. Well,
I can't imagine
I
it
don't
makes you
know.
feel
I
any better
mean,
to know that
if it's
my
a cool
understanding of how
fantasy,
hypoxia and,
then maybe it
lack
wouldn't
of
be so bad.
oxygen to the brain works means that
Also,
after,
this boy is just
after the first
not
scary bit, once the
remotely
oxygen has
even
left your brain, it's all
doing
kind
what
of,
I am asking him to do.
just kind of like a fantasy until you lose consciousness. At least that's what I hear.
I need him to
I don't
get
imagine that makes it feel any
over
better.
here. He's like not getting the momentum to go across. I can't say I've ever really had this problem before, but I'm sure you can see what I'm trying to do, because that door is definitely not open far enough that we can actually
Yeah,
make it
this
through.
switch is not getting flipped nearly hard enough.
See, look at that!
it's the
Look at
counter
that!
that isn't working.
What
I
is
see.
happening? That's all right. We're doing well time-wise, so I would hate to deprive you of being able to see this
Nope.
one.
We had a hearty bonk on the last attempt, but
Yeah. The shared nightmare. What is this, Bloodborne? It's real bad today, okay?
Chad is now sharing
A
their
hunter
nightmares.
must hunt.
So I guess we're all
Boy,
in this together.
do
now.
it! Yes! Oh, jeez. Finally. Anyway. Yes.
Good luck. Good
So
luck.
welcome. That was what everybody came for. Okay, so
Yeah,
don't
no,
worry. We are
I'm-
almost done
I'm
with the deaths.
Hey.
And I am choosing to get crushed by a vertical door in that location because the
what a
next
gruesome
location
reward. Thank
is
you.
way, way more difficult. Such that, you know, again, mostly it's just the world record holder who does it that way. Because we've got super tight timing if you want to be able to do that. And if you mess it up, like, too bad for you. And I, for one, am not willing to let runs die for something like that, so... Ironically. Alright, real quick. Just gonna do this. I survived. Of course I did. Thank you, little boy. There. He's like, why do you keep doing this to me? I refuse. Wait. See, I'm used to doing the death, and then I do the boxes in the opposite order when I'm supposed to actually solve the puzzle. Alright, here we go.
He's decided he would like to live today.
I'm not on today, okay? Today is just a day. It's one of those days. Alright, this needs to be out of the way, and then it needs to be in the way.
I see.
We can do this. It's like a 2-step puzzle. There's only 2 steps. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes my nightmares are, horror fueled. Why didn't that go very high? And I'm dead. Seriously, that jet box didn't do its full, its full rocketness. I've never seen that happen before. Like, I didn't even consider that it was a possibility. Which is why I jumped.
Today, I guess.
Anyway. Okay, can you go as high as you're meant to go, please? Now I'm scared.
Animation, yeah.
Why isn't it going very high? What? What?
Right.
Okay, I was able to kind of super boost myself far enough that we made it, but what? Hi, friend. But yeah, what I was trying to say before that Jetbox so kindly
You finish this run, you go back out to the
was
main
that
screen.
sometimes I have,
the
the typical horrifying dreams where I'm like swimming and I can't
talk about a speedrunning
I
nightmare.
can't find a way out of a cave or something. Here's Drowned by the Water Girl. And sometimes I have most of the time I have the nonsensical dreams, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm dying because I've eaten too many Peeps and, my dog won't come save me or something. Those kind of dreams. Those are most of my dreams. That make no sense. Y'all have stress dreams where you're like still in school and you like can't remember where your class is? Mine is always, I'm flying like to Japan or something, and either I can't find my passport and I'm already on the plane, or I'm already on the plane and I don't have shoes.
Definitely shouldn't have been covered in that
and
subject.
I'm like, well, this doesn't work. I have to have shoes, and then I
those ever go
panic
away.
because I'm 6 hours into, a flight, and I'm like, how do I get shoes? They won't let me into Japan if I don't have shoes. Here's the other vertical door that we can get crushed by, but we're being chased by the water girl and also drowning, so that it's a really scary time to do that. Hey, dog. Doggo. Dog.
Oh, no.
Moxie. Hi. Can you not do that, please? Sorry. I have been watching the dog very slowly eat a piece of cloth. I eventually needed to stop her, so. Yes. Yeah, for sure. That was me dying solely because I was still looking at the dog. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got.
I swam
I've got
past the point where I was
cats
supposed to be.
here, and my
It's just
partner,
literally right here.
Has been developing their green thumb, so there are some plants around
But yeah,
here
her
that we
name
need
is
to make sure to
Moxie.
keep them away from.
By the way, she is, who knows, some kind of Great Pyrenees Husky lab thing, named after Mad Moxie from Borderlands.
Dang it, Moxie.
Because for some reason, a large proportion of our animals are named after video game stuff. Including Mort. It's just that nobody realizes it because Mort's not actually his name. Oh yeah, that's true. I could just pretend that it's Mort the chicken. In reality, Mort started his little baby skink life as Artorias from Dark Souls.
I was going to say Mort the chicken.
Yeah, because we thought that he had kind of
seen
like
that game? Yeah.
a wonky arm. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, blue tongue like
Yeah, there we
Artorias' cloak. He's got kind of a weird arm, obviously. And Artorias became Artie, which became Marty, which became Morty. It was just a degeneration over many years.
Ah, that's excellent choice.
So we're not taking drowned here because we already did it. Convenient. And
Sure,
the reason that we took drowned by the water girl when we did,
if you
is
don't have
because this doesn't
diminutive or
count.
baby names for your pet,
and you will see
what are
why
you even doing?
shortly. But yeah, we've got technically Artorias,
Probably
so
smart.
that's a video game name. We've got Gladio, which is short for Gladiolus from Final Fantasy 15. Tonberry. Dingleberry doesn't count. We just, you know, they had to both be berries, so. But Tonberry, at least, is a video game thing. The legless lizard, who is currently asking to come out of her enclosure, is named Zarias from Elden Ring. Who else do we have? I said Gladio. I guess Cassie and Sam don't count because they just have regular names.
Yep. They'll doink you up real good.
This is true. I could just say that Sam is short for Samus. Call it good. Artorias almost made me quit Dark Souls. Manus succeeded. That, you know what? That's valid.
There are definitely video game characters named Cassie
Monkey
and
Man
Sam,
Manus
respectively,
is kind of a jerk. Mort, where did you go? It's like perfect because Mort is no longer in view because he is being antisocial today. But also, if I pan over here, you can actually see Zarias' enclosure in the background. But of course, she's completely on the opposite side, so I can't see her either. It's just how it works. So here we are. The reason that this doesn't count as drowned by the water girl is because I don't drown. From now on, as per our usual, let's make friends with everybody. I am fish friends. I can breathe underwater. I got fish buddies. Having a good time. I see what you did there. Chat, why do I get pun tax? But that did get pun tax. Come on.
But wait, does that mean we're back in school? Oh no.
No taxation without representation.
That's you know, when
You're
we're
even
talking
going to
about
become
names
close
for
friends
groups
with
of
the
things,
CEO.
got me
Very
thinking.
close friends. So it's been a little while since
they're still
catastrophic things
catching up.
happened, if
I'll
you
get
can
one.
believe it. So we're about overdue. So here's a friendly little door. This is called a circular door. And we're gonna kind of hang out here. It's actually a little bit difficult to
True.
make
I'd
this
almost
line up
forgotten.
correctly. It worked though. And here we go again. Oh, please let me in. Farewell, fish. Don't come in here. It's bad. Don't do it. My fishy friends did nothing wrong. Mort, I can hear you scrabbling around. He's being the biggest
I
drama
appreciate
queen.
that you're trying to spare them.
Okay, so obviously, if you've been paying attention for any length of time, you know that we have to get sucked into those turbines. But if we do so, the checkpoint is actually quite far back. So we head up here just to hit this checkpoint past the table. And that way we can, like, forward warp when we die. Donk, there we go. Alright. And now, there are only 2 deaths left. We are almost there. Alright, we're going to use the little strat that we talked about at the beginning of the game to briefly walk backwards in the water, which speeds us up when going forward. And I am not even going to try to one-cycle this, because it's very tight and very spooky. And on controller, spinning these circular levers is really difficult. The risk of one cycling is not worth the minuscule reward of like 15 seconds saved. But it is possible to fully get this over here, get up the ladder, hop onto it, and get out before the light reaches over here. Okay. I was gonna say we'll be back in that vat of liquid later, but sadly we won't, because this speedrun doesn't go that far. Okay, so here is the death I was talking about before, where we're gonna kind of cheese the z-axis. So, x, y, and z-axis, right? Assume that x is left to right, y is up and down, and z is deep into the screen. So foreground, background. I don't have control over what part of the foreground or background I'm in, right? Like, I'm just kind of existing on this plane and walking back and forth. In order for one of these jet boxes to fall on my head, I have to stop the boy from automatically stepping into the foreground to stay away from it. So I have to kind of cheat him into the background where he'll get hit with this thing on his head. I don't know why there's an animation for this, if they didn't intend for this to happen, but... because it's really, really difficult to do, such that I kind of really doubt that people have done it on purpose. Or, like, not on purpose. So I don't know why it exists, but sure, we'll roll with it. So I need to force myself to stay in the background while the game is trying to push me into the foreground so that I don't die. And in order to do that, I am going to use the other jet box. These jet boxes are technically in the background, which is why when I push them, I grab onto them and I'm like in front of them, right? So, there are 2 jet boxes here. One's in the ground, right here, and you can only kind of barely see it. This one, I'm going to send into the air, and then I'm going to grab onto this to hopefully try to keep me in the background. And then right as this comes down, I'm going to jump, and hopefully being in the jump is going to prevent me from being pushed forward. And it's very difficult, but we will get it eventually. That one was just an accidental pull of the other jet box. He lingered a little bit too long. But yeah, it's fairly common to get this on, you know, 4th, 5th try. So it's not Not unusual at all to kind of fight with this a little bit. Because it's not supposed to happen, right? Like we're doing something that's not intended. Oh, bye, Jay. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. There we go. So it, I'm sure, looked like essentially exactly the same, right? It's just one time we were able to trick the game and the other times we weren't. But we did it.
No progress, only bonk.
And now we only have one more death. Which I don't like because it's called Thrown by Freaks, and my friends are not freaks. They are my lovely gaggle of friends. And they will yeet me to my demise, but only because I ask them to. You can push... I see what you're saying, like, just stack the two boxes perfectly on top of each other. The difficulty when you do that is that you have to pull the, like, lever of the top box, and then you spend extra time falling off of the top box and readjusting, and then grabbing the one underneath. That it gives you a much smaller window to get everything lined up. But it is possible, for sure. But the same, like, principle applies, right? Where it'll still, like, push you into the foreground. Even though I'm not visible, they kind of obviously notice that this box is just shim-shamming along the floor. So I have to stop for as long as they're watching. I don't necessarily know that obsolete is the wrong word, Shavil. Like, that kind of sounds right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe there was some other mechanic with jet boxes or some section that wasn't included where that was, like, much more possible.
Yeah. It could be essentially
This puzzle
a remnant, an animation left in
was
from
the
something
only
that was
one I had
supposed
to ask
happen
my
in the
husband for
sequence
help
that got removed.
because I just did not understand how to do this. So we're taking this, right? And we're bringing it over just far enough that it's going to give me a platform to stand on to get up into the water while the water is high enough that this door on the right isn't closed. Excuse me. I'm gonna need you to fall down, actually. Let's do this puzzle the right way. There we go. But yeah, I wonder if there are more mechanics like that that we just haven't quite found yet. 'Cause the elevator skip is fairly new, which, you know, functions on the same principle that you force yourself into the background and then you just fall past the elevator. So... Oh! Yeah. That makes sense. Something that once had a function and didn't, or doesn't anymore.
Oh, okay.
Does that make you feel
from the point
better,
of comparison
Shavil?
that Shavil's using there? I think
Have you found your word?
The term they may be looking for is vestigial, like a vestigial organ.
All my friends go plop. Hi, buddies. They're like missing legs and stuff, but you know, it's fine. We love everybody. That one has two heads, just like glued on top of each other. Sure. I like this thicky one in the front Because he's like half thick, half thin. He's like a chocolate vanilla swirl cone. Alright, we are almost there. So I'm gonna have my friends come with me. Gonna make some more friends. Presumably I don't need my cool hat anymore because everybody's just heard about how cool I am. But the real answer is because the water girl plugged me into whatever piece of equipment made me able to breathe underwater. It seems like they listen to me now. Yes. Alright, so that was the final death. They just kind of threw me into a chasm. That's because they're true friends. Cool. Thanks for catching me, friends. So I'm not
Also
entirely
just gave
sure
you hat
why the run
powers.
doesn't just end there. But we still have a little bit of a way to go. Actually, now that I think about it, I know entirely why the run doesn't end
And then
there.
I came in after you.
And it's because you wouldn't bear witness to the end of this game, which is a sight to behold. At long last, we're out of the water, which means I have to do my little hoppies again. Come on, friends. I don't need all of you, but I value all of you, okay? Come on. I feel really bad. Okay. You don't have to let them all get in the elevator, but I'm gonna. And we get just a little, it might not even be audible, a little like slow fade in of what is one of the only musical instances in the game because it relies so much on the ambient noise. To kind of let you know that something's going on. Something is different. Something is happening that you should care about. And we will find out what very shortly. Also, as we go through here, you see, you know, the cigarette is still smoking as if someone didn't put it out the right way. This phone is off the hook. Like, people left really quickly in the middle of what they were doing. And back here in the background, you'll see a fax machine printing out Morse code. Which, if you want to read up on the people who have translated that Morse code and figured out like a hidden
That's not what happens
website
when
from
you're doing
Playdead
good
and everything,
science.
like that's a whole adventure that you can go on the internet for like 2 hours. But that Morse code coming from that fax machine does say things. It gives hints about Easter eggs and leads you to this hidden website. Shavil, I was so confused. I was like, surely vestigial has to be it. I'm glad we found the word you were looking for. Yeah, that's probably true. It's no big deal. So to our left, we have a gigantic orb that we can't really see through because story reasons we can't see through it. But that is what they're all looking into upstairs. We didn't bother to go and look, but they were all looking into it. And it's interesting, of course, they've been pursuing us the entire game. trying to catch us. But now that something seems to be happening, they just don't care anymore. We were standing right next to them, and they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Little boy, just go away. So we did cut by a circular door as one of our deaths previously. This is the other place that you can get it. And there is a reason that only the world record holder gets it here. It's because this is, you know, like 2 minutes or something from the end of the run. You have a fraction of a second to get it right. And if you don't, there is no do-over. So, yeah, no. This is kind of a garbage place to get that death. But if you time it just right, you can get crushed by a circular door here. So we've met up with some friends. They're just all kind of one friend in a giant ball. Guys, hands off. And I say this every single time that I run this game. I really want this to be a stress ball that you can like squeeze and the little legs like pop out. That would make me so happy.
Yes. The friend orb.
Tell me it has that. That's even better.
You didn't see the. I
so yeah,
you've
the
seen
end of this
collector's
game
edition
just
version
kind
this game
of
that eventually
hits you
came
out of
out?
nowhere. I love it.
Oh, it
It's
does,
super,
but it's
super
like
fun to speedrun
made out of
this
something
part.
entirely more flesh
So sadly, we
textured.
don't fully get to see the end of the
It is
game, which
not
is why I
meant to
said
be,
if you've
like,
never played this
comfortable
game for
to hold in your
yourself,
hand. It's meant to
even
be
though you
gross.
saw what I was doing, like, play it. Enjoy the ambience for yourself. Be the blob. Manifest the blob. And see what happens to the blob. Huh. It just keeps coming. I kind of assimilated a couple of my friends there. That's okay. Don't worry about it.
And hey, if you run this category, you could even say you play dead.
Just like a slightly more unsettling one.
Oh, so we're also a Katamari. Neat.
Oh, sorry, folks. Didn't mean to wreck
that's
you like
fine.
that. You kind of
Katamari
chose
is
to walk
plenty
in front of the
unsettling
blob
enough when
guy.
you think about the ramifications.
Kinda you're bad, to be honest. I'm just a blob living my life. And yep. Nice. Alright, so timing is going to end here shortly. We should get ready on the timer. Nice to see that I come in under estimate, despite not having done this for a while. Timing is going to end as soon as I sploosh the CEO of this company. Hello! So timer is going to stop probably in 3, 2, 1, stop. That's time. Thank you. Let me go wash my grundle off over here. So yeah, there still is like more to the game, but that's kind of reserved for any percent. So I'm not going to keep y'all here. You have seen enough carnage for one day, I'm sure. But thank you so much, everybody, for having me. Thanks for donating to RIP Medical Debt. We met the incentive for one of the upcoming runs,
I thought I'd hear today,
we
but
have
sure.
a bunch of days of runs, so there will be more incentives upcoming.